welcome to the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Every week with inspiring guests, inspiring Israeli business owners or nonprofits making a difference. I'm Lesley Kaplan, your host, the founder, and together with our sponsors, Eggert & Cohn Insurance and Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem, we welcome you today. So today we have a special guest who I've known for many, many years. I haven't seen him for many years too, but I'm very familiar with his delicious products, his delicious baked goods. Who are we talking about? We're talking about the one and only Herby Dan, founder and owner of Herby's Bakeshop. So who is Herby Dan? And you'll get to hear more about him in a moment. Before making Aliyah from Memphis, almost 40 years ago, I think 39 to be exact, he had a bakery and was working, that's where his passion was, and he was working in law on the side. So he would go to the bakery and then he'd go into court, or maybe to court and then to the bakery, merging and combining his two different lives. Once he made Aliyah, a couple of years later, he decided to open up Herby's Bakeshop. And it was a one-man show. He had one employer to start. And over the years, thank God, it's grown to the size that it has, expanding its operations, expanding its line. And if you haven't tasted it, as I said, it's really delicious. You got to taste some of their challahs and their different things. So what did they bake? Some of his favorites are their donuts, their chocolate chip cookies, their brownies. And Herby, I understand, has a special soft place in his heart for the Hamatashen. So Herby, I'm delighted to have you here with us on our show today on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Please share with us your story. Your bakery is well known. I've tasted your delicious food, and so have many, many others, Anglos and Israelis. Share with us your story of making Aliyah. I know you made Aliyah from Memphis, and then you had a bakery there. So what led you into it and then opening up here? So let's start at the beginning. Share with us first about growing up as a Jew in Chutz La'aretz. Were you religious then? You weren't religious then? What made you make Aliyah? And then we'll lead into the story of the bakery.
Okay. I wasn't totally Shomer Shabbos back then, but I got there by degrees. And I decided I wasn't going to find my wife in Memphis, so I went to New York. The first time I went there, actually, was to learn more about the bakery business, which I did from different bakeries around. One was a Satmar bakery, one was a Lubavitch bakery, and stuff like that. Then I came back home. I said I'm ready to open the bakery up, and tell a friend of mine, one Moshe Shabbat said, "Don't you dare open a bakery up until you find a wife, or if not, your bakery is going to be your wife." It sounded like good advice. Went back to New York. A friend came down to Memphis and picked me up on June 18th, 1978. My wife Debbie and I got married on June 17th, 1979. So we went back to Memphis. My mother-in-law found me some bakery equipment. I opened a bakery up in the basement of their pharmacy, and the bakery of my aunt's pharmacy. And about 5 months later, I leased a bakery in Memphis, which I worked at for about 6 years. But in between time, as I said, I was already a practicing lawyer before. So as I said, I used to go to the bakery at 6 o'clock in the morning to get to work. 8 o'clock, I used to change clothes and go into court. And I finished court and came back to the bakery. The instigation for coming to Israel was my wife. She was here her junior year abroad, and she always said she wants to go raise children here. And so she didn't go out with people who didn't want to go to Israel. I wasn't necessarily averse to it. I didn't say I want to go or whichever. We got into it. And when my wife opened up a Chug Aliyah in Memphis, and we got into it and stuff like that. So in October November 11th, 1986, we came to Israel with 3 children. And as an aside, we had 3 more after we got here. I worked at Angel's Bakery for about a half a year. Didn't work out. Then I was just working around from place to place on my own, basically. sometime at a person's bakery, one time at Herzog Hospital, and I toured around until finally we moved to Beit El on August 29th, 1988. Erev Rosh Hashanah 89, I opened Herby's Bakeshop in Beit El. And still there, not at the exact same place, but we've moved downstairs, but that's where we are today.
Wow, wow, thrilling. Firstly, I hear that you're excellent with numbers. You remember dates very, very well. I wish I could remember dates as well as you do. Do you have a flair for numbers? I guess being in business, I mean, yes, you're a baker, but you're also in business. I guess you have to have a flair for dates and numbers, right?
Well, I was a math major in college.
Ah, okay. Well, so you're talented at that, and you're talented at baking and running a business, and you're also a talented lawyer. So before we continue with you're opening the bakery and in Israel, how did it work out that someone studied law and had this passion for baking and being a baker, which are two totally different things?
Well, as I worked my way through law school. I was selling collars to about half of the faculty. But I don't know. I always wanted to open a bakery up, and then a friend of mine and I were going to do it, and then he backed out. So I still wanted to do it. So I left my job at the law office and went around to check and see about some stuff. And as I said, I went to New York first off to go check and see about a bakery business to learn more about it, and the second to find the wife, and I had the wife, and so I came back, and but before I said I used to go to when I was in law school, so I would sell it to half the faculty and other students, and I would sell it to at the same time I was still baking at night when I went to law school. I was still doing that. So I kind of got used to it. I was delivering collars to the Memphis community, and I think they really bought collars. Besides liking the collars, I charged 5 cents a loaf to deliver it. So I think maybe that was the impetus to do it.
Right, exactly. You can't get that amount even in those days so
No.
easily. Firstly, I think it was a very wise idea or wise advice rather, that you were given to first find a wife before opening a bakery. I definitely like that combination. I'm assuming that your wife, who I'm delighted that I know her and she's amazing, is that she was obviously supportive of having the bakery.
Yeah, yeah, she was supportive of that. She was fully supportive. But I guess I was the impetus, but she was the total support behind it. So that was good.
Right, which is often the case, and it's wonderful because then you work as a team. So what enchanted you about having a bakery? Was it the actual baking itself, or was it the delicious smell of the bakery? Obviously, a combination. What was so special that you were just driven to that?
Well, I used to bake at my mother's house. She had a double oven there. So I had a real, I forgot where I got it now, a small commercial mixer at my mother's house. But I remember one night I made 63 challahs because I remember putting the challahs outside on the front porch to cool them off before I bagged them up. And I just always wanted to do it. Just after that, I always wanted to do it. I still
Did
do.
you get professional training as well? Or was it just all self-taught?
Well, as I said, I worked at some bakeries in New York to learn different things about stuff. But I think when I took over the bakery in Memphis, that's where I really learned a whole lot because you had big commercial mixers, you had a big commercial oven, and you learned the ways that they used to work before I got there. I might have changed some recipes up, but you learned about the brownies I got from there, the sweet dough I got from there. The challahs were my recipes. The rye bread I got from there. No, the rye bread I got from a bakery down in Savannah, Georgia. Um, I went down there to talk to him about a bakery. And so that's where I learned a lot of the stuff. And then like when you use it, you learn it also. And that's what I did.
And that's what you did. Wow. Now, the bakery, if you think about it, look, the times were different then, but the bakery that you had in Memphis, is it very similar to what you started off with here? And we'll talk as we move ahead about what you started off with and how you grew into what you are now. But thinking about when you started off, was it really a copy paste, but just a different country? What was different about it?
The first bakery I had in Memphis, as I said, was in the basement of my aunt's pharmacy. When my mother-in-law found the equipment, I put the equipment in there. So I had a mixer and I had a 4-stack gas oven. As I remember, as an aside, my cousin who was the pharmacist there, he said he could always tell when I'd been baking the night before because the smell pervaded in the prescription room and stuff like that. But then after I got my bakery over at a real bakery, not like what I opened up at first, oh, that was something else. The oven would hold 30 sheet pans. That's 45 by 65. That's a lot. So, but it would hold all that, and we used it, and that was great. So I learned a lot from there. Now the ovens I've got now are rack ovens, which is totally different. You put either I have 13 pan racks or I have 18 pan racks. And so you put the whole rack in the oven at one time to bake it off. So it's a whole lot different than what it used to be. But
Right, absolutely. And there's a lot more equipment that you can get now too with the modernization of times, which I'm sure was just not available in those days.
correct, correct. The proof box, that's where the stuff rises. That we had in Memphis was just like a little closet with a gas heater on the bottom with a pan of water on there. Now we bought it a couple of years ago. We have a real proof box, which keeps the humidity and temperature controlled, so you know exactly what you're doing with it. Yeah, it's quite different. Like right now we have something called a Koenig, which gives you out it rounds up pieces like dough balls, which we use for lahmaniot and we use for sufganiot. And we even take the like 3 or 4 balls and put together to make the challahs, and you weigh it out. And then we have another machine that's a molder. So we take the pieces for the challah and put it through, and it runs through and makes a snake that we make our challahs with. And what other equipment do we have? Our mixers are pretty big now. We started off with much smaller mixers. I remember right during Hanukkah, the mixer that we used to have, it broke. So during
Oh,
Hanukkah,
so
we
what did
got
you
a real
do?
big mix. During Hanukkah, my not Avi, but another son found us a mixer, and that mixer would hold 2 bags of flour, which is like 50 kilos of flour. So it was a little bit bigger than what we were normally used to. Also, as an aside, which we just got rid of it now because it was just too big to use, we had a mixer, big mixer. It would hold between 6 and 8 bags of flour. So it would hold 150 to 200 kilos of flour in it to go work with. That was big, but it was too big for us to use. So we got a different mixer from somebody, and then we got rid of that one. But what other equipment do we have? Basically, that's the equipment that we use.
Right.
Basically,
So, I want to ask you, as a kid, I think it must be such fun on the one hand, like it's every kid's dream for one of their parents to own a bakery. You think about the kids coming after school to help make stuff, to help pack stuff, to taste, to smell. On the other hand, it's also not so easy. I'm sure there were many challenges because of the long hours and especially deadlines at the end of the week with Shabbat and everything. So tell me about it, how your children, were they involved from a very young age when you made Aliyah and started the bakery a couple of years afterwards? Would you say you were really a one-man show, or did you already hire people? And were your kids and your family involved then? And let's talk about the growth as the years have gone by.
it started out as a one-man operation. I remember, and I remember who my first employee was because I remember having him. I'd still be sifted flour by hand on a little bitty sifter. Of course, now the sifter is quite a lot bigger. But I don't know. My kids started coming to work. They started coming to work because I remember when Shauna and I used to. That's my that's the eldest daughter. She used to come to work on Rosh Hashanah, and so Erev Rosh Hashanah, because when we finished baking, we used to go to the Makot and get shoko. But the kids came to work. They did, and they learned. They learned
Were
it.
they
They
actually
learned it.
helping or were they just more hanging around,
No,
tasting? Did they give you advice? Did they ask you to create certain creations?
no, they didn't really do that. They didn't really do that. We had our own creations and stuff. Um, that's like I said, we have some specialties, our chocolate chip cookies, our brownies, our donuts, which are known all over the place.
And
And
I've tasted them, by the way. I just want to add, I've been privileged to taste many of your things, including the chalot, including the cookies, including the brownies, including the donuts. I used to run, before I moved to Netanya, and this was before COVID, I would run an in-person networking, women's networking group, and your dear wife used to come. And we always knew when Debbie came, we'd get some of Herbie's delightful treats. So thank you, Debbie. You're going to be listening to this, and thank you, Herbie. So we got to taste many of your different things, and the donuts definitely before Hanukkah we used to taste. And of course, I bought your stuff, for many years at different stores across the country. And actually, last year, the shul that I don't know if you know, but I had contact with your son, or I think it was your son, yes, that we bought for our shul last year. Purim was on a Friday, and we bought we had a Shabbat theme for the Mishloach Manot. That's for the Purim baskets. If anyone's not familiar with the term, if you're watching from abroad or maybe not Jewish and don't know the terms. And we ordered some of your delightful things, including the challahs and including two different types of cookies. So yes, I know exactly what your delicious food tastes like. Thank you.
I especially like our Hamantash. Especially, I found that recipe. It's not mine. I found it, and but it's one of the best cookies that I could make. I'd love to use that dough for something else, but it doesn't last as long as other ones. But it's really great. It's really great. What I probably should do, oh, we did it also a few years ago during COVID. We made a package with Hamantash dough and baking paper and four different types of filling, and we sold that as a package to people, and so they can make their own at home. And we also sold, as we do every year, we sell to schools, and the schools pass it out to the kids at school, and they make their Hamantash at the school, and then they take it home to bake it.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. I've got so many different things I want to ask you just about what you've said. But first, I want to just go back to the idea of you started off as a one-man show, your kids were involved. And at what stage did you decide to grow and expand? And were the kids involved all along? And I know, though I understand, a couple of your kids are involved right now. Am I right? Or was it just
Correct.
one?
Correct. Mayor's actually the manager of the bakery, and Avi's actually the production manager. Um, I'm just an assistant there, actually.
So
Uh,
you're not retired. You're still very
no,
involved in the bakery. Am I correct? Do you go in there every day? Do you
every
physically
day.
you physically involved in the making of the stuff, which is your passion, or have you taken a step aside and you're involved in other activities?
I don't make most of the doughs. I make a few of them. Sometimes, if necessary, I make the donut dough, or I'll make the rye bread dough. Uh, Which other ones do I make? It varies. I make a gluten-free chocolate chip cookie. I'm the one who makes that. So I'll still make a few of the doughs, but I don't make most of them. I'll work on the doughs. Like when the cookie dough is made, I go ahead and roll it out and chop it up and let somebody else put it on the pans and stuff like that. But or like today, this morning, we made donut holes. We made about 6,000, 6,000 donut holes. Uh, I fry the donut holes. I'm the fryer, as you say.
You're the fryer. Okay. No, it's amazing that, when you love what you do and you seem to be totally passionate about it, it doesn't seem like work, correct?
Nope, nope, no. Right. When people ask me, "When are you gonna retire anytime?" Because I turned 75 this year. I said, first off, I learned a long time ago. I don't remember from whom I learned it from. And they said, you don't retire until you've got something to do with it. And I really don't. So I'm still there.
Right, exactly. And
Every
as I
day.
said, you're passionate about it, and Ad Meves Rim until 120, Bezrat Hashem. And I'm sure that they're delighted that you're still so involved. So, how have you handled the different managerial tasks, logistics? Those are you less involved in right now? You've got the different family members, and do you have outside employees too, or it's a total family business?
No, it's not total family business. It can't be. It's too big to do that. And all right, we had a real big order for biscotti from a place called Lev HaOlam. You ever heard of them?
Biscotti, yes, but
No,
your stuff, your biscotti stuff. I know your biscotti biscuits, right?
no, but you're right. Lev HaOlam sends out a package of Israeli products all over the world. So they used our biscotti in the package, and we had a ton of them to make, and so it took a lot of people, a lot of people, just to pack the quantity of stuff that we had to do. So the family couldn't have done it. But we have one, two, three, four, five or six other people that normally work at the bakery at different times also.
Right,
Because
which is fantastic that you're also giving employment to other people in the area. So it's a win-win for both.
right, one of them who still works for me now, this was back in the early, about the end of the 1990s. He came into the bakery a day and said he just got, the day before he got tenure at his work, they fired him. So I said, come to work. So he did. And he still works by us. He's
He
been there
still
for like
works. That's
15, 20
amazing.
years.
That's amazing. And it's not a given too that one's kids would be passionate about continuing the business, which you're very fortunate about that you do have some that are.
Very true. Very true. Very true. And they're good at it too. They're good at it. And the grandchildren, when they have vacations, a lot of times they'll come work at the bakeries. Like in the
Right. I
summertime,
wanted
we
to
had.
ask you about the next generation. Tell me a little bit about that.
All right. All right, let's see. Well, Shauna's got 6 kids and Vina's got 6 kids. But the oldest daughters of both of them like to work at the bakery and they come to work. Those that, but not as much now because both of them are in Shu at Liumi. But let's see, Shauna also had a couple of sons came to work. When Bina came to Beitel, a couple of her kids came to work. Um, ah, so the manager's son sometimes he comes to work. Both of them. He has 2 sons, and they both come to work. So it's nice having having the family
Sure,
come
isn't
in.
it fantastic? You're going to work, you're living your dream every day, you're doing what you love doing, and you're also surrounded by family, whether it's kids and or grandchildren. What better thing could a man want?
No,
Besides good
nothing.
health, Bezrat Hashem.
Right. That's great.
Mm.
Um,
I wanted to ask you about, so you started off small. Could you have imagined, and was it your vision that your bakery would grow to the size that it is? Because as we know, businesses have a vision. Usually individuals have a vision, businesses have a vision, and not everyone wants to grow to a larger size. Some people decide they want to stay small because we all know the challenges and the different growth phases that are involved in growing. So share with us a little bit about that. Was that what you envisioned from the very beginning that you would grow? And any hiccups or any challenges that you may have had along the way?
good question. I'm not sure if I really had a vision of what I wanted. I just wanted. And so I opened up. A little bit after I opened up, I got a partner, but he didn't last long. He wanted to open his own bakery, so he left to do that. Got a different partner a number of years later. He stayed for a while, then he left. I don't think I really had a vision. When my son took over the managerial stuff, it was basically his workings, how he wanted to do stuff and found the equipment to do stuff and did this, that, and the other. So I think it really wasn't my vision, because I'm not honestly not sure if I really had one. I just enjoyed what I was doing and
You were
did it.
enjoying what you were doing and literally taking it day to day, from what I
That's right.
understand, correct? Hmm.
That's
So you're
right.
saying when your son came in, did he have this bigger vision of growing, or at what stage did the growth take place, or was it just slowly but surely that, you don't normally get from A to B without different phases in between, or from A to Z, should I say?
Right. No, I would imagine that it just took its steps gradually. With more people, more family in it, and when they have kids and stuff, then you have to make more money to go to handle that. So we had to grow, and like right now we're in the midst of, what Shiputzim are?
Yeah, renovations.
Right. So we're renovating the bakery now because the Misrah Briut, the health department, says this is what you need to do. So that's what we're doing now. So the bakery is being renovated right now. Of course, it does cost a fortune, so we have to go sell more stuff to do that. But we also switched textures recently. We we
Mm-hmm.
we did a
Which
different.
texture you moved from what to what?
We moved from Rav Reuben to the Eida Haredit.
Mm-hmm.
The,
Okay.
the Eida
So does
Haredit.
that open up a lot more opportunity for you?
It will, yes. It hadn't fully gotten there yet because we're still on the early stages of that. But yeah, it should do it. Because there are some
Right.
people who only want that. And I know that when we switched to Rob Rubin a couple of years ago, uh, even then I noticed the difference where some people came in we didn't come in the bakery before, and all of a sudden they started coming in ordering stuff. So extras do make a difference. I know ages ago I was in a store in Ramat Eshkol in Yerushalayim, and the person there asked just a customer at the store what our hefsher was. And I said, I got the OU. And he wasn't too interested, as I said, it was the OU Israel. He said, it's the OU Israel. He would rather have the OU in America, so he wasn't interested in the OU Israel. So people are particular about hefshers. And that's you see.
Right.
That's
And that obviously determines who you're aiming at, who your target market is. And that's a strategic decision that any business that is dealing with food has to decide.
that's true. Very true. Very true.
Right.
That's what we've got now is the Eidach Haredit. Is I was working today, I was packing up donut holes this afternoon, and the mashgiach from the Eidach Haredit came in. Of course, he sampled the donut holes, but
Of course. How could he not?
so that's where we're at now with the Eidach Haredit. Hopefully,
Right,
hopefully it'll
right.
do its job.
Tell me about there were years that have been obviously challenges, COVID, for example. Now Israel's had a 2-year war. Has that impacted your business in any way? And I do like what you said, and obviously when things like this happen, and I'd like if you can share with us if it did impact it, how, and in what way did you pivot or grow as a result? That it led to bigger things. Like you said in the beginning, you would pre-pack stuff for people to buy that they could make at home. Is that something you continued with even after COVID? Tell us a little bit about that whole thing.
Yeah, we continued it afterwards, and we still do. We still we sell dough pieces to the schools. We didn't as much do the packages with the fillings and everything else afterwards. That we did not continue with. But right. As far as COVID was concerned, not so much, but as far as the war is concerned, yes, that made a difference. Why? Because some people got money from America and ordered donuts from us to give to soldiers. So we did a bunch of that. People all of a sudden we hear from people they were up north and they had our donuts. Down south in Gaza they had the donuts. And also they reopened in a new building of Pina Hama in Beit El. So they come by and get donuts every Friday afternoon for there. I remember one week about 3 or 4 months ago, we had extra donuts just sitting around. So I gave the Pina Hama about on Thursday 6 boxes of donuts, and then on Friday I gave them their usual 2 boxes of donuts. So
Wow, that's an amazing chesed that you're actually able to do with certain groups like soldiers, and if you choose any other groups to undertake to give them some kind of a charity or something at a discounted rate.
oh yeah, basically. But because there's a guy in Beit Shemesh that he orders about every couple of weeks. He gets about 150 to 200 donuts at a whack, and they go to if I'm not mistaken, the soldiers around Gaza or the area around there. So yeah, we keep in touch with people.
Right. So people can get access to your stuff. Firstly, you have a website, Herby's Bakeshop, correct?
It is, but it's not really workable. Now, I'm not
No,
sure
in other
why.
words, to look what you're selling and then
Yeah,
to call and place the order, not to order online. Is
correct.
that what you're saying? That's not your
That,
aim. Okay.
that's
So
correct.
they can see what you do through the site, and people can do direct orders through you, through the bakery.
Correct.
And you sell a lot to the different stores and the makolot around the country. Is distribution, would you say, literally around the entire country or more specific areas?
No, we're in Yerushalayim, but bunch of the place in Yerushalayim. We're down in the Gush. We're out here in our area out here. Um, we're also in Beit Shemesh. We're in Modi'in, Hashmonaim. Um, it depends. Other places we go to when we have orders for, and so it's a
Right,
little.
Male Adumim. I know I used to live there and I
Ah,
used to be able
right.
to find your things there. So are you mostly targeting an Anglo market, or once the Israelis get to hear and see what you do, they are your clients too?
That's a good question. I would probably answer yes, but sometimes it's not just just the Anglos. Other people like the stuff too. I'll put our sweet challah against anybody's. Anybody's.
Right, I'm sure it's delicious. As I say, I've tasted it. So what is your favorite one? You mentioned the hamatash, and is that your favorite? Or what is, share with us your secret. What is your real favorite?
It could be Humantashen. I used to say my favorite cookie was a chocolate chip cookie, but it's really not now, because my favorite cookie is the spelt oatmeal raisin cookie, not the one without sugar. We make one without sugar, sweetened with apple juice concentrate, but I like the one with sugar better. That's actually my favorite cookie. It's top notch. I can sit there eating them all day, but I don't. I don't do it.
But you could. And tell me, do you cook at home as well? The same passion that you have for the bakery, or you're involved there, but at home you stay out of the kitchen, or you're very much in the kitchen?
No, I mostly stay out of it. Occasionally I'll work in the kitchen, but I mostly stay out of it. Just like the wife stays out of the bakery, I'll stay out of the kitchen.
Right. Okay, we didn't actually get to that, but I'm sure that on Friday night and on Shabbat you have your baked from Herbie's Bake Shop chalot on the table, and even the cookies and the cakes and everything else. Like,
Correct.
I'm wondering, how does a wife make their own baked stuff when her husband's a baker?
Well, she does make a milky coffee cake, and it happens to be excellent, and all the children and grandchildren love it. And it happens to be very, very good. Very good. But she doesn't really bake much other than that. No,
Right. Well, there's no need. She has a bakery at her fingertips.
that's right.
Right. Amazing. Herbie, we're coming to the end of our time together here. moving forward, what do you see for yourself? What do you see for the bakery? I know it's not just your decision. You have a team running it now. Anything that you'd like to share with us?
Well, the inside of the bakery right now is totally different than what it was a month ago. When we started the renovations, we knocked down a wall, so it made a whole lot bigger room. But the reshoot means what you have to do for the Misrata Briut is they want rooms for everything. So you walk
Okay, so
in
you're
and you
making a
see,
lot of changes there.
oh yes, it's like totally divided up in this room for this room for the other. It's totally different now than it was before, which is okay.
Okay. All right. You know, when we choose to go certain routes, and then often there's certain conditions involved, which you know, in the long run will benefit you. Have you ever thought of turning it into a visitor center or to do game for kids or cater not day camps? Do you do that kind of thing?
I did that before. I used to have a chug, but it wasn't for baking. Oh, yeah, it was too. It was baking and cooking. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I did that once. Groups used to come in. Right now, they occasionally they'll still come in, um, but not as much as they used to.
But you don't
Where
have anything official that the groups can call and come in and call, and did you have set dates or set times or anything?
no, no, because you never know what your business is going to be like and how busy you're going to be. Like the donuts, use your iced and stuff and packed in the afternoon. So I really can't have in the afternoon when that's when they would come in. But so like you can't really do that. The business comes first before chugim and stuff.
Before, exactly, exactly. Wow, Herbie, I've had a delightful time talking to you, and I hope you've enjoyed it too. Just going back a trip around, you know, back to memory lane and your journey from Memphis. And I see you still have a delightful Memphis accent, even though you've been here close on 40 years. Is that right?
You just turned 39 years. Hebrew date was yesterday, the day before. The English date was the day before.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, Mazal Tov. So.
thank you.
Admer Vesrim for you, for your bakery, for your aliyah, and wishing you just only good health, much success, and in the future for the bakery. And as I say, once you taste Herbie's delicious goodies, that taste is going to linger in your mouth. You're definitely going to remember it. So if you haven't yet checked it out, you should definitely do so. So thank you again for being my guest. I'm Lesley Kaplan. You've been listening to the Monday Motivation Spotlight, where every week we feature inspiring Israelis, business owners making a difference in Israel. I'm Israel Chai. Thank you to our sponsors, to Eger & Cohen Insurance and to Lali's Flower Boutique in Jerusalem. So we will see you next week on the Monday Motivation Spotlight. Bye-bye.
Thank you.